Alrighty, welcome everyone today. There's been something that's been really on my mind, and I figured I'd come on here live and just start kind of working through it. And so, one of the biggest things that I've noticed over the last little while here is that there's this giant gap in franchising where there are people like me who have scaled their franchise, their business to significant numbers, right? 10 million, 20 million, 30, 50, 100 million. You know, you hear stories of Greg Flynn, largest franchisee in the world, does $4 billion, right? Huge numbers. But most people who buy franchises end up buying themselves a job, right? They have more hours, more stress, less money, right? And it just doesn't seem worth it. And they're like, why did I get into this? And so I've like started to try to figure out, why does this exist, right? Like, why do you have brands that even in the brand I'm in, you know, we're in auto repair, 2/3 of the franchisees, 66% of the system approximately, you know, are 1 to 2 location owners. And then there's a few of us who have, you know, 20, 30, 40, you know, the largest groups have 80 to 100 locations, but we all have like the same core, you know, brand. We all were given the same playbooks. We all have the same marketing, right? Like, none of that is different. So then why does this exist? And what I've realized is that a lot of it comes down to that the franchisor gives everybody the operational playbooks, right? So they'll give you the playbook that's, you know, this is how you operate the business in terms of like, this is how we answer the phones. This is how we do marketing. This is like what software we use. And this is the market agency, right? They give us the playbook to like run the business itself, like from like within the four walls. But what they don't give us is the playbook and the systems to actually grow the business. Because I mean, there's a number of reasons that I'll get into of why they really can't give you this. But for the most part, owners are like, once you figure out the model and once you're like, all right, we can process customers, we can like do the thing, right? We can make the burger, whatever it is. Then it's really up to the individual owner to go out and actually figure out, well, how do I actually duplicate this, right? How do I turn this single unit I have into 2 units, to 4, to 8, to 10, to 12, to whatever it is, and you keep growing. And that's kind of what I want to get into today is really why franchisors can't help you scale the business. And more importantly, like what you have to do to actually do it, right? I mean, because that's kind of the point, right? Is like, if they're not going to help you, someone else does. And so it starts with that think about the franchisor's team, right? So like, you buy a franchise, you know, when you do that, you become a business owner, right? At the end of the day, a franchise is just like a business in a box where you're an entrepreneur, you start a business, you follow a playbook, you follow some rules, but at the end of the day, it's your business. You're the one who's personally guaranteeing leases and franchise agreements and have to make payroll every week. And it's like your business. It just has to operate by some rules. All right. And so you're given that. And then you've got the franchisor team, and they have their business, right? And their business, you have the ownership at the top. And then below them, right, they have a series of employees. And so this would probably be better if I shared my screen and did a little visual. So if you want to hang on, hold on a second. All right. So we think about the franchisor's business, right? So you've got like ownership at the top, right? Who's the founder of the brand? It is their thing. They know all the knowledge, right? They're the ones who started this. And then as the franchisor grows, right, they build out their team, and so they'll have their divisions of different things, right? In their business, we're talking about the franchise. We're talking about the Zors right now, franchisors. So this is like the Midas corporate, the McDonald's corporate, the whoever it is, right? These are the franchisors. And so in their business, they have admin, they have finance, they have operation, they have sales, right? So when you buy into a franchise, you go through the the sales division. They have their own finance, they have their own payroll, all the same processes. Once you become a franchisee, you fall under their operational system, right? So under operations, a lot of times, especially in like a bigger brand, they will generally have divisional people. So they may have like someone who's in charge of the East, like the Central and the West, all right? And then within the East division, so they will have somebody who's like, you're in charge of the entire East Coast. And then under them, they will have multiple people who are, for PA, New Jersey, Florida, et cetera, depending on, how big the brand is. There's some sort of ratios here to support. And this is critical, right? Like the franchisor needs to have people in the field to support franchisees as part of like what you're paying for, right? Is this support team to help with whatever you need. But here lies the problem, in that the franchisor, all these people that support you as the franchisee are all employees, right? So these are all employees of them. And at the end of the day, like I'm the business owner, right, of my franchise brand, and like the decisions that I need to make to really grow it, to say, hey, how do I go and find these deals? How do I negotiate? What should I use? Should I use debt? Should I think about equity partners? Do I reinvest cash? Do I get lines of credit? Should I be in a saving mode? Should I be in expanding mode? Right? There's all these like questions that as an owner, you have to deal with. Like every business owner has to deal with this, franchise or not. Like these are just critical decisions as you grow, right? When do I add staff? When do I think about like my controller or my CFO, or do I hire a COO, or when do I add a district manager, right? Like there's all these questions that you're going to have as you start to grow. But the problem is that as the owner, you're going to be interfacing with a bunch of these employees for the franchisor. And they're well-meaning, they're great, like they do the best they can, right? But at the end of the day, they're employees, and they most likely have never owned a business, right? They most likely have never personally guaranteed leases or signed personally guaranteed for 10-year franchise agreements, or had to meet payroll every week, right? And so there's all these things issues that you have as a franchise owner that you're going to want support on, and questions and all these things. And the people who are designed to be the ones to help you can't really help you because they've never experienced it. And yes, they could give you advice and they could give you theories and they could possibly tell you what someone else did. But at the end of the day, like that's not as helpful as another owner, right? And so that ultimately becomes one of the benefits of owning a franchise is you're not alone. So if you're here in your network, there are all these other people who own franchises in the same brand as you all over the country, right? And so the benefit becomes that you can then share ideas and challenges, and together you guys have this network effect of helping out. So you're not alone. And I think this is one of the big reasons why there is a discrepancy, especially across industries, where you've got some brands that just like crush it. And then you have other brands that like totally, that they're not good at all. And there's like many reasons to that. We can get into that too if you've guys got questions on any of this stuff. By the way, put them in the chat too and tell me where you're from. Happy to make this interactive as I go through it. But then, so the best brands are the ones that have strong franchisee networks, right? So owners sharing ideas with each other, who have strong chat groups, who have regional meetings, who have conferences that get together every year, right? And you have it's franchisee led, and the topics are about how franchisees can make more money, and it's us working with each other to share what's working in our businesses, because we know what the problems we have, and often if brands try to do everything that's like top down, right? So it's like from their top down of like, this is what we believe that you as franchisees need to do. And then the people telling the owners who have their like life, not their life, but like their credit and their house and everything on the line are being like fed to by a bunch of people who've never owned a business, it just doesn't land. And it's just like the franchisees are just like, we're not going to do it. Like that doesn't make sense. And so you have to have this network effect. And so for the brands that succeed, you create that and you curate that and you encourage it and you make it a big part of it. And so if you're watching this and you own a franchise, one of the best things you can do is work to get involved with as many of the other franchisees as you can. And if the brand doesn't, my pathetic drawings here, sorry about this, if this is confusing, but if the brand doesn't have it now, like you go out and create it. Like you go out and bring a bunch of people together into a WhatsApp chat, a Slack channel, right? Starting an email thread, a Facebook group. Like there's lots of ways that can be done. Or regional, or doing Zoom calls. Like I remember during COVID where we weren't getting together, I put out this thing to our brand, said, hey, just because we can't meet in person doesn't mean we can't help each other. And especially during COVID, right? When there's all these, or whatever, we all know it was crazy. And so then I started putting out saying, hey, I'm going to host a Zoom call, and I'd bring on a franchisee and essentially I'd just like interview them and be like, all right, what are you guys seeing? What are you doing? And, on these calls, like it started, we might have 20 or 30 people on it, but eventually the franchisor picked it up and then they broadcasted it to the entire system. And it became like a really cool way to share information when a time when like everyone, just didn't know what was going on. And so all of that is possible in the systems, and the best ones curate that. If it doesn't happen, you can go out and you can create it on your own. And the more that owners can share this stuff and help each other, the better. The next level to this as well is, and this is what I'm like really focused on, and a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to put out into the world is a lot of the things that it takes to actually grow the business, right? So when we think about, you own a business and a franchise or independent, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. We are all independently owned businesses that happen to be a franchise. We think about like, what are the problems that I deal with when I got to think about growing? Number one, it's strategy, where it's like I have 2 locations today and I need to decide, should I just focus on growing my sales? Should I just buckle down and say, all right, I just need to focus on like taking what I got and I got to make it more profitable? Or do I need to multiply, where I'm saying, all right, I need to go out and I need to start acquiring other locations and going from 2 to 4 to 6. Which way should I go? That is a question that needs to be answered. And if you don't have clarity around what strategy that you want to implement, you're going to have trouble making decisions, because you're going to just not know, what do I need to focus on, right? Do I need to focus on making my stores more profitable and then figuring out, how do I do that, right? Do I need more people? Is it my marketing? Is it my process? Is it, whatever. Or do you say, hey, I know that I could do better, because we could always do better. However, I think I'm 80% there. And if I'm 80% there, that's good enough to say I can start to multiply. And if your plan is to multiply, then your strategy is going to be completely different, because now your focus is not going to be on how do I just like tinker every little thing and make it better. My strategy is going to be, how do I build out, it's a couple things. One, it's how do I find deals? How do I structure deals? How do I fund them? It's going to be, how do I manage them? So we get down to the people side of it, which is, who is going to be the multi-unit manager? Do they work for me today? If not, am I going to find them? And how am I to get them trained up? And what is my role now as the owner? What are the things that I need to focus on? And so these are completely different paths, depending on if you want to continue to grow your business, or if you say, hey, I'm here because I want to go and I want to multiply. And the strategy then decides what direction you focus on. And by the way, if you're watching live, go ahead, put your name in the chat, where you're at, if you own a franchise or not. Happy to answer kind of any questions or comments you guys have as I go through this too. And so that's the first thing. So you got to figure out, what's the strategy that I'm going to implement. Next, if you decide to say, I want to grow, I want to expand my business, there's a couple different ways you can go. So if we say, I want to multiply, That's awesome, right? That's what franchises are meant to be, scalable. And so if you go the expansion route, you could either develop new locations where you go out and you find a territory, you find a new location, which could be a territory that you are going to open up that's neighboring. That new location could be a existing franchisee that you acquire, and it could be a conversion. And so depending on what it is. And I think the conversion is actually a really interesting part right now. It doesn't work in every industry. And thanks, I don't know your name, but you said my videos are inspirational. I appreciate that. It's one of my goals is to share it, right? Because like, listen, I'm just like a normal guy. I've figured all this stuff out just by trial and error, and I believe that if I can do it, that anybody can do it. It's not, it's nothing special. It's just a matter of setting goals and working every day to achieve them. And so the new route, we know that's pretty simple. The existing route, we go by, finding existing franchisees that want to grow. On the conversion side, this is where I think there could be a lot of opportunities that most people just don't even think about. And so a couple weeks ago, I ran an in-person event as part of my 8-figure franchisee program, and we had a bunch of guys, come to Philly and go through, their plans and what they're thinking through and their strategies and their ideas. And one of them owns a power washing business, for example, and he is getting a lot of requests to clean windows. So he's in there, he's power washing the ground or whatever, and they say, hey, can you do the windows? Now, it's a completely different thing. You got to use like squeegees and stuff. And so he's kind of at this dilemma of, well, do I just like hire guys and we figure out how to clean windows? It's like not that hard, right? You can figure it out. Or do I go and I buy an existing window cleaning business and I roll that into my franchise? And so buy or build. And so we kind of talked through that decision of, okay, when would it make sense to go either way, right? And the conclusion that we came as a group, now he's in the commercial business, and the most valuable part is not the skill to clean the window. The valuable part is the relationships into the commercial contracts. With this idea of, what if we bought a commercial window cleaning company that already did business with a bunch of large apartment buildings and strip centers and office buildings, and then through kind of like this backdoor channel, now we can sell them power washing services because they need it. And so all of a sudden, whatever multiple, so say that commercial window cleaning company is making $150K a year, and let's say we can buy it for, I don't know, $400K. We can maybe sell or finance it. This is profit, right? This is purchase. Let's say we can buy that thing for like 20% down. Either way, whatever. You could get a bank loan too. It doesn't have to be seller finance. But essentially, what would that be? 10%, 30%. So we put 30. Oh no, sorry, that was a wrong number. That'd be 80. So we said 20%. So we put 80K down. We have payments on the rest. So $80,000. We're like in our foot in the door to acquire this profitable window cleaning business that specializes in commercial work. But then all of a sudden, let's say that gets us, I don't know, 25 new accounts that we didn't have before that continue to make money. And then each one of those, if we're already doing business with them, even if it's through this other entity, like they may not really know that it just got bought. I don't know, depending on how you deal with it, you may or may not tell them. But if we said, well, our average commercial customer is worth, I don't know, let's call it $4,000 maybe. I mean, I have friends in this business who get $100,000 contracts. So 4,000 is actually probably pretty low. I'll make it 10,000 because 10,000 is probably more accurate. Because most of the time it's recurring, right? If you own a strip center, it's like a recurring thing. So potential, right? He just unlocked $250,000 of potential revenue at very high margins that in this acquisition that's backdoored. through this other thing. And so this is what I think is like really interesting that a franchisee could do, is if they can go out and they can find a business that they don't even care about the brand, they don't care about the Google listing, they don't care about any of the things, but access to their accounts, which then they can then make money on. They buy the skill, they buy the knowledge, and then there's this extra thing that then creates a crap load of value. And if, let's say, they sold all those accounts, $250,000, I mean, it'd be a no-brainer. The thing would pay for itself in 2 years, let alone all the other stuff. That's just one example. In the auto repair business, a good conversion, right, is I just go out and buy independents, right? So I find like an independent shop, and my handwriting is terrible. Sorry about that, guys. But that we can then just convert into Midas. And so, like, I have one. Literally yesterday, my our CEO of the company was going out and looking at, and it's a shop that sits on 3 acres. It does, I don't know, $1.5 million in revenue. It has a whole towing operation, which, you know, if any guy's been following my stuff, like, we're trying to get into that. We are into that, just trying to grow it. And you know, he's not open Saturdays, which is our biggest day. You know, his building looks like shit. And so we go in there, and then we buy this thing, we convert it into our brand, we paint it, we make it look great, we open on Saturdays. Oh yeah, he's also charging like $130 an hour, where we charge like $170 an hour in the same markets, essentially. We raise the prices, we introduce financing and like all the things that we do. And all of a sudden, we can take this store that's doing, you know, 1.5 million, and we can get this thing to 2 million, right? Within a very, very ideally short amount of time. And so, like, there's instant value. And so those are the things that I'm looking at when I'm going to say, does it make sense for us to go and convert a business into what we do? And so we go back to like my initial question. And if you joined us now, like in the beginning I was talking about, there's this large gap in performance. And a big reason of that is that in the franchise world, you know, a lot of the people that are expected to give you support, they're corporate employees. And for them, you know, they have a job to do, but it's different than talking to me, who's an owner, right? And so what I'm really working to create, and all my kind of content and the things that you're going to see me talking about, is this stuff, right? Like, all the things that I'm talking about are universal to owning any business. Just happens to be a franchise, because that's, you know, what I'm in. And so that's what I really want to share and teach, is that, and that's what I do inside 8-Figure Franchisee, which is this platform that I run. And our goal is just to take these principles like this one and then figure out, how do we apply it to every member that wants to grow? Because now it's owners sharing ideas with other owners that work across the board. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, because the growth principles are the same. When we get back to what the growth principles are, it's what's going to be my strategy. Which direction should I go? And then if you say, okay, we're going to expand, how are we going to go? New, pretty easy to figure out for the most part. Existing, then we need to contact all the local franchisees. We need to tell them we're looking to sell. We need to try to structure seller financing. There's a specific strategy that works fantastically to get seller financing. Or you go this conversion route if that's what your market is. So those are the two big ones. Then we get into people. All right. So we think about, what are all the people aspects that we need to grow the business. In a franchise, we are in the people business. Like I'm not in auto repair. I'm in the people business. And the owners that really succeed and build the big multi-million-dollar businesses, they understand this. They understand this better than anyone else, because you otherwise, if you're not in the people business, you end up being in the passion business. But what I mean by that is, you've got people who are passionate about cars, right? Like I own 35 automotive repair shops, and I could give two shits about cars. I drive a 2018 or a 2019 car. I, have zero interest in looking at pictures of cars or knowing anything about them. Like, I've never fixed a car in my life. I've never done up brakes. I've changed oil a few times. I've changed batteries and bulbs that I'm very proud of myself when I can. But that's not the business that I'm in, right? That is the business that many auto shop franchise people are in, but that's not the business I'm in. I'm in the business of people, because I know that if I can hire a great store manager, and it always starts with the manager, because people don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. And I want to create an environment that people don't want to quit, because, or good people don't want to quit. If they're bad, I don't care. You can quit. But so my job is, do I hire a great store manager? And then that great store manager is able to help us find and retain the quality technicians, the mechanics, right? And then these are the guys and gals who fix the cars. This is going to be the worst car I've ever, there we go. That's a little sedan, maybe. Anyway. And so my job is hiring great store managers, and their job is to hire great technicians. And then it's a question of, okay, well, what's a great store manager? It's somebody who's able to communicate with customers. It is somebody who is able to answer the phone, says, yes, you can come on in today. We'd be happy to help you. It's somebody who creates trust with people. They also can speak both ways, right? They can speak up to the customer to tell them what's going on. They can speak to the tech to be able to communicate the problem. And there's, a lot of people say, well, like in automotive, like, don't people just like have to get the cars fixed? Like, isn't it easy? And man, I wish it was, but it's not the case. I mean, I'm sure you've probably been to a shop and you've been like blown away by the quality of service and how friendly and clean. And like, you tell people to go back there, and you've probably been to shops and you're like, man, that place was the worst. I'm never going back there. Right. For all these reasons. And it's the same. I mean, it's like, that's what we're in. Right. And in our business, we know that if we can hire a great store manager, that single individual can literally double our revenue, if not triple the revenue and the profits of a store. And so for me, it always starts with that person. It says, hey, can we go out and can we find a great store manager? And can they go out and hire great technicians who can fix the cars? And so that's the business that we're in, and everything around the people side of it. So it's figuring out. So the ones who scale and build multi-million-dollar companies, they become experts in this. They become the best in terms of figuring out, like, who do I need to hire next? And that who is a big question, because that who could be, I need a store manager, I need a technician, I need a district manager who's like a multi-unit manager that would oversee multiple stores. I need to hire a COO. I need to hire a CEO. I need to hire a controller, which is somebody in the back office. Maybe I just need a virtual, global talent person. Maybe it's time I get into HR. And so there's this big question of like, who could I hire? Because you may be having a problem at one of your stores. Like I have tons of stores, not tons of stores. We have stores that have problems, and sometimes it's easy just to look and be like, it's always the manager, right? And that guy sucks. We got to fire him. Like, we got to find somebody else. Until you dig into it and you learn that maybe it's not the store manager, but maybe it's that he doesn't have any good technicians, and these guys can't fix cars, and they're slow, and they're on their phones all day, and they don't respect him, and he's busting his butt, but it doesn't matter. And so you really want to understand and have a good process around identifying the talent that you have and then who you need to be able to replace. And actually, I have something on my computer here. I'll show you this. That this is like what we use, and this is just an example. And by the way, put in the chat too if you're hearing me live, what just where you're at, and if you're in a franchise business. All right, staffing board example. All right, cool. Oh wait, I think I got a better one than this. LibreOS. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So like this is one of the coolest things that we've created and that we use. Let me just figure out how to share my screen here. Okay. Cool. I'll just like zoom in. Hold on, let me get rid of my iPad. Zoom. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. So highly recommend creating something like this for your franchise. This is like a critical part of our like people system that I call it. And so what we do is we have this thing called a staffing board, and down, it's pretty simple. Down it, it's like, here are all the locations that I have, and across, here are all the roles in the business. And so, I have a manager, assistant, I have a customer service. In this case, we categorize the talent of our technicians based off like ABC, and then we color code it based off of kind of like the status. And hold on, let me just add in my one more thing here. Let me just add my face in so you guys know it's me. And circle. All right. Okay, cool. So then we go through, and this is like a living document. Now, obviously, this is just an example. But for us, each one of our district managers, so, as we think through scale here, each one of our district managers maintains one of these for their staff. And so they will have, at the Main Street store, Larry, Bob, and Tony, and, we say, hey, Green's a top performer, so maybe downtown. Mike is somebody who's one of our best managers. He may be somebody who we think is ready for a promotion to be in a higher level role. Okay. Then we've got yellow, which would be this person needs coaching and development. And so it's someone who we think like this person could be good, but they need work. And so it's someone that like we're like, we want to put a little gold star next to their name, says we should invest time in Tony. Tony's somebody that we believe, with could be a store manager one day, like not just one step up, but 2 steps up. And that could be had every level. Maybe Tommy is the C labor that we think, hey, this guy is maybe it's a young kid. He's really sharp. He just doesn't have a ton of experience yet. And if we want to send him to the training classes, we want to make sure that he goes out and works with like Bob, top performer, A-Tech at Beach Ave, to give him like advice. And we think he can get a lot better. And then you could have like a C labor green that says, hey, this guy, especially sometimes this happens, where you'll have people who are really good at what they do. So they're really good C tech in terms of like, they can do all the basic stuff. They can change tires, like whatever it is. And they don't really want to get better. They like their job. They like what they do. They're like, listen, I'm happy being the best that I can be just like in this specific role. I don't want to get into like all this complicated like diagnostic and all this stuff. And so in that case, like this guy's a killer. We love him. Maybe he goes in, he's the guy to help train other new people to get that specific role down. And then, red is, we got to find replacements, right? These are the people that we got to replace. These are the ads that we're posting on Indeed. This is the way that we're thinking about it. And often, we may say like, maybe Tony, the guy that like needs some coaching development, but maybe, you would have another, sheet down here, because you're not sharing this with your people, is that Tony could be the next guy up to take Joe's spot, or maybe Alex could be the next guy up to take Kevin's spot. And you're using this to somewhat track who's getting ready to be promoted. And finally, black would be your voids that you need to fill, to say, like, this store needs an assistant manager. We wish that Donnie could be upgraded, but listen, he just doesn't have it. Or, this store needs a B-Tech, C-Tech, whatever. And so this is what it looks like for retail. If you wanted to look, if you don't own a retail business, maybe you own a truck, what I call a truck-based business. So this would be that. So for example, that power washing business, let's say I owned a bunch of territories in the Philly area, and I said, hey, Larry is my sales guy. So these are the roles now. Maybe Larry's my sales guy. I've got a route manager, so he like schedules all the route and deals with the customers and stuff, and hires the guys. And then I'd have maybe some lead guys and some crew guys that go along. And maybe I also have some part-time crew people that are in and out. And really depends on your business and kind of how you structure it. But essentially the same thing of who's really good, who needs to be replaced, what are the roles I need to fill. Right. And so you would build something super simple, last updated date. Like we update ours weekly. Every single week, our district managers are updating theirs and doing it. Here's a 1099 model one. So like for this one, for example, I'm a partner in a brand called Waterloo Turf. We're an artificial turf franchise. We're in Texas. We're in Houston, actually. These are fake names, but this would be the idea. Instead of route, route may be not the wrong word. I'm going to say territory. We could say, hey, we have Woodlands and Houston. So Woodlands is like North Texas and Houston's like whatever, downtown Texas. And we could say we've got a sales guy up there. We have a project manager. And then we have our crew. And we could say Jose's got a big crew. He can cover both territories for us, wherever it is, he can do it. We've got other guys that maybe only work at the top. We have other guys that only work in the bottom. And same thing, he's top performer. He can do anything. This guy maybe could do stuff, but we got to get promoted and go from there. And then contact list, right? It's like who it is, what the company name, the phone name, the quality work they do. Do they speak good English? Are they willing to work weekends? You'll find some crews that are like, listen, I'll work anytime, or you got other crews that, obviously don't. And so these are just some other trackers that I had here. But so this is like all part of the people system, which is this idea that to grow a franchise and to really make this thing like into a big business, right? Hold on a second. How do I get my face back? iPad. There we go. Sorry here. New to this whole thing. All right. Oh boy. I'll just close this for now. You've got these people systems, right? So the best franchisees are the ones, and why they grow way faster than ones that don't, and the people that buy themselves a job, is they have figured out these systems of, I have an expansion system to figure out strategy and what direction I go, and whether I buy new or whether I convert something. They have a people system for deciding who do I need to hire, when do I need to hire them, understanding what are the signs that I need to be able to fire somebody and going from there. And so that's a big part of it. And then the final system is the money system. And I really wish I could get here we go. Okay. And then the final system that I think separates the best, the ones who make a lot of money and the ones who don't, is what I'm going to call the money system. And this is more of how do you go about thinking about money, right? And when you first launch a business, it is like you have like personal versus business, and they are they kind of are basically the same, right? Because you're basically taking all your personal money and you're putting it into the business. And if you quit your job and you're all in on business, all of your personal income is from the business. And so in your mind, the bank accounts are kind of one and the same, because it's your whole income is just dependent on what you decide to take out of the business that day. And so then you're making business decisions in terms of what capital should I reinvest? Should I take on debt? Should I expand? Should I do this? Should I do that? You're making all these business decisions, based off of kind of this personal view of it all, which makes total sense in the beginning. Because that is literally how you get paid. Like, it is your sole source of income, and so you have to think that way, right? And I think that's like okay in the beginning, because you need income, it's got to work. But at a certain point, if it becomes this like habit, and it becomes this mindset that you have that says, I'm going to take money out of the business. So let's say your business is making some pretty good money. Like let's say you're making, you get it up to let's say $300,000 a year. So the business is making $300,000 a year, and you decide, I'm going to take all of that money out as distributions, and I'm going to pay myself as distributions, and I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put it into, the VTI Vanguard index, which, whatever, let's just call it 10% after taxes and stuff, which obviously some years are up, some years are down, whatever. It's like, you're going to take that money, you're going to do something with it. You're going to invest it. And, that $300K makes you $30,000, right? Every year, passive income, my net worth, quote, grows by a certain amount of money. And you're at this stage where you're possibly satisfied with that, right? Where you're like, hey, listen, it's consistent. I don't have a ton of stress. I've got this core team. The business does its thing. I have some free time. But and not everything depends on you. Like you've got it to the point where it's like doing pretty good, but then you want more, right? You hear stories of other people that built these big businesses. And this is me. Like, this is like literally, my story essentially, where you realize like I'm here, right? And I used to be here. I kind of got to here, and you kind of maybe hit this wall, and it's hard to see. Maybe it's like a brick wall. And it's like hard to see by it, to say, well, what does it look like? Well, how much better could it get? What would my look like? Like, I don't need material things. Like, there's a lot of things you think about, right? Where it's like, I don't want to push myself to do it. And then something has to change, right? On one half, what could change is that you just learn about a whole new world, right? You learn about a whole new way of living in terms of what your business could look like, and how much more you can make, and what are the things that you would do with your time, and just the satisfaction of winning and wanting to push yourself, right? And just knowing that, like, man, maybe I'm just being complacent in what I have and what I could do. And if I challenge myself and I push myself and I create it, like, then you get satisfaction from the fact that you like overcame something and you learned a new skill and you did all that stuff, right? And so the goal is to figure out how to like bust through this wall so that you can then get this business to say, hey, I want to get this thing to 600K. I want to get this thing to 1.2 million, right? I want to get this thing to whatever, 3 million. Like, there are franchisees out there, there are business owners who make over 7 figures every single year, and they have more time and more freedom and more fun than anyone. But they started with 1 to 2 locations. But what the difference is, every time they hit this wall, they figured out how to bust through it. They figured out, how do I get over this? And they keep pushing themselves to get to that next level. Not because they're like greedy and they want more things, but because it's fun. Like, at a certain point, you do it not because you want more money. You do it because you enjoy the challenge of it. And even for me, like, this is like what I'm trying to do and grow in our business, and even like making content and being here is like, I want to challenge myself to do something I'm not currently capable of doing, or I don't have yet, and I want to figure out, can I do it? And I know I can do it if I put the work in. And then the achievement that you get from that, that's a reward. And so we get back to like this money system, and you think about like, all right, I've got that 300K of distributions I'm currently taking out, and I get a 10% return on my money. And like, let's say that business, you could go out and you could find another location that's maybe making $100,000, and you could buy that thing for 3x. So you buy it for 300K, and you could put, 60K down, and your payment would be, I'm just going to make these up, like $3,000 a month. So this is down. This is your monthly. So 36K. So at the end of the day, like, you're going to plus add, let's call it $75,000. All right. Of like net after, I don't know, 70, be 36,000. That'd be 65, whatever, 65K. These guys follow that, right? So we're buying for 100K times 300K. We put 60K down. We have a $3,000 a month payment. If we change nothing, the business hopefully should make $65,000. And like, if you already had, maybe this guy already had 3 locations, right, making whatever, 300K a year, and we just added a 4th location to his business. Oh, we have 4, and then now we're making 365, assuming there's no like incremental synergies or cost savings or anything else, which is unlikely. I mean, you would have those savings. Think about that investment. He just put $60,000 down and just created $65,000 of cash flow. That's more than a 100% return on the money. And if you've done this like right, there shouldn't be a tremendous amount of incremental overhead of work, because you've already got the systems in place to manage 3 locations. To add a 4th generally isn't that much more, like, from an effort standpoint. And so you could take the money out and you could put it in the stock market, or you could put it back in your business, acquire another cash flow positive location or close to it, and all of a sudden you have 100% return on your money. And then you keep doing that. And then you find a multi-unit guy that's making 300K and he wants out, and you're able to buy that thing for maybe it's 900,000, and let's say you can buy it for, would the be like 200K down? And so maybe you take a cut one year, right? And this is where I think it really, like the ones that really win kind of get separated out. So the business is 300. Let's say you had to buy it for $1 million. You needed $200,000 down. This is assuming you don't get seller financing, and which is possible in these things. But anyway, and let's say the thinking cash flow, I don't have a calculator here, but let's say it's 600K, or yeah, let's say it's 600K after debt payments. Oh, no. This is, let's say you have a 100K a month. So it would cash flow 200K. So it should be the same thing, right? You're going to have 100K down. You're going to have 100K net cash flow afterwards. So you take a huge cut in a year. You invest $200,000 into acquiring another group of stores that are making $300,000 a year, which after debt payments is $200,000 a year. And so all of a sudden now, like you've got now your 3 original stores, you've got the 4 original stores that are making $365. You've invested to acquire another 3 stores. These are the worst squares ever here, but that's okay. That are making $200K. You're paying down debt. You're probably going to improve the operations. You're probably going to find a bunch of savings, and all of a sudden now you're able to get this, thing from making 560 to maybe it's 600 something, right? And then you keep rinse and repeat, and like I've built a company, like we'll do $50 million in revenue this year, and this is literally how I've done it. Like this exact playbook here is we go out and we just find locations and franchisees that want to sell, and we view the acquisition of their business as an investment. Like my brother and I, who's my partner, we say to ourselves, we could take the money out and we could put it in Vanguard. I can invest it into stocks. I can invest it into like real estate that gets me a bunch of the deals I invested in real estate have lost money, so that was a terrible decision. I can put it in oil and gas. I can do all these things, but at the end of the day, those are going to earn me 10, 15, maybe 20% if I'm lucky, or I could get an 80 to 100% return by acquiring another thing and rolling it into the business. And then once you get to a certain size and you break the barrier, like there's zero additional work. If not, the job actually becomes a little bit easier, because once you have a bunch of locations, so for my organization, for example, like this is my my company, it's like me and my brother up top here. And then, we've got, we have admin, we've got, I'm just going to try a bunch of, actually, hold on a second. This would look better if I do these little snap thingies. Okay. So we got me and him, and then, we have like a bunch of, oh boy. So we have a CEO, and then under this, and we have admin and we have finance, and then under the CEO, we have now 5. So we have these 5 district managers, right? And each one of these district managers oversees roughly 7 stores. And I'm not gonna draw 7 on each one of them, but 7, 7, 7, something like this. And so if we go out and I decide in 2026 that I am going to acquire 7 more locations, which is exactly what our plan is, then what's going to happen is we're going to take this and we're going to add another circle here, and we add another 7, and it's not always that clean. Like sometimes what it is maybe this new market, because we're looking at acquiring a new market, maybe that has 5 stores, and maybe I have another 2 that are like get redistributed in these. Maybe we shift one over. Maybe this guy ends up having 9 and this guy ends up having 8, and maybe whatever. Maybe we take one from here and put it over here. And maybe this guy has 6. Like part of the game that, they deal with is the reshuffling of locations based off of, varying factors. But all that's to be said is that as you work to grow the business, and as you say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to acquire more deals, you don't have the issue that like if I acquire double the amount of stores, I have double the amount of work. That is the case when you do everything yourself. Like if you are a solopreneur and you're the person who does all the sales and you do all the processing and you do all the stuff, like, yeah, if you have double their customers, you're going to work double the amount. But as you grow and you start to build this like whole system and team and framework, then as you grow, there's not that additional like pressure on you, but instead like you're rolling it into the system. So for us, like we're rolling it under our CEO, and for him it'll be too much, right? And so then it really just becomes that, okay, well, what we need is to hire a COO. It's just another one. And so now they kind of work together and to then oversee these stores. And really in the perfect model, it would really be the COO that would figure it out. Or not figure it out, but be the primary person that be responsible. And so the CEO can continue to focus on growth and all the other things. And so when we get back to my question from the beginning, and if you're just joining me, it's like, why does this big gap exist in franchising where there's some people like me who build, 8-figure businesses. There's people that build 9-figure businesses, 10-figure, Greg Flynn, some other dudes. But then why are there a bunch of people who buy themselves a job, go out of business, go bankrupt? And it's because that the franchisor gives you the systems to operate this. If I could, for my color, they give you this. They tell you and teach you and support you to operate a single unit, a single like 4-wall thing, which is essential. Like if you can't operate the store, none of this exists otherwise, right? Like you have to be able to operate the single store with marketing, with operations, with a sales process, with technology, with cost savings and vendors and know-how and in R&D. R&D is a big part of it. For Midas and cars, it's like, well, what's changing with technology? What equipment should we be buying? How should we be training our people? Like, I love that I don't have to deal with any of that. They figure it out and just tell me what I need to know. But the question is, if they can't help you, if they help you with that, which is great and essential, what about all this other stuff in terms of who do I hire? When do I hire them? What does my org chart need to look like? What is my back office, which I didn't even talk about? What does that need to look like to be able to process payroll so everyone gets paid and nobody quits? How do I deal with my money system to decide when do I need to reinvest? Who should I invest? How do I negotiate these deals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so anyway, that is what I'm trying to solve. That is the content I'm trying to create with an 8-figure franchisee. Like that is literally all we talk about is these systems to install into people's business. And so anyway, if anybody wants to learn more about that, happy to tell you what it looks like. But anyway, and so that's what I'm excited about. That for me, this is going to be my like goal of the year is to help teach people the systems to scale a franchise because it's changed my life. It's changed a lot of my friends' life, but it's all teachable. Like all this stuff, and if I can do it, if all my friends can do it, you can do it too. If you own a franchise, you just gotta know what to do, and then you just gotta have the motivation to do it. Like none of it's hard. None of it's like requires rocket science or MBA degrees or any fancy technology. It just takes commitment and the vision to do it. And so anyway, I think that's all I got. And if there's any questions, happy to answer them in the chat. But if not, I'll see you on the next time I go live. I'm gonna try and do these more often. So if you appreciated this, I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.